is made up of representatives from all of the buildings in the district. All of our members are volunteers. ISPTO hosts this event to provide valuable information to our community about the candidates for the Hilliard City's School Board of Education. This year, 4 candidates are vying for 2 open positions. All 4 certified candidates were invited to participate, and tonight we have all candidates joining us. Let me introduce them. Kelly Arnold, Kate Leemaster, Nadia Long, and Brian Perry. I'd like to review the format for this Meet the Candidates event. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening comments. A moderator will be asking the questions during the event. After each question, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. We will alternate who answers first. We have timekeepers in the front row to help candidates know the amount of time remaining. The questions tonight have been compiled and prepared by the ISPTO based on those questions submitted by our members. These questions have not been shared with the candidates prior to being asked tonight. We are allowing the audience to submit questions for consideration as well. Please drop off any questions actually, I think they've been collecting them at the corners, so if you have questions, Carol and Monica, are you out there still? Yep, perfect. They're still on the sides. If you have questions, feel free to drop them to them. If you can make sure you drop them off by 7:15, and our team will review for redundancy and appropriateness. At the end of the event, each candidate will have 1 minute for closing comments. To allow for a broad range of questions, they'll have 10 total, just so you know. We expect the event to last about an hour and a half, with time after for you to directly meet with candidates at their tables outside of the Performing Arts Center. We want this event to be informative and respectful. We ask for you to hold your applause and reactions until the end of the event to maximize the time to hear from our candidates. At this time, I ask that you please turn off or silence your cell phones and other devices. This event is being recorded. To participate in this event, the candidates agreed that their organizations, their campaign, and their supporters will not use the event, portions of the event, or any audio clips, video clips, or transcripts for political advertising or other purposes without written permission from the ISPTO. Our moderator for tonight is Elizabeth Grieser. She has worked in the nonprofit sector since the beginning of her career. She currently serves as the operations manager for the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus, overseeing voter outreach and advocacy programs, along with managing a membership base of 400 plus volunteers. Elizabeth also serves on the board of the Worthington Public Libraries. She holds a BA from Washington University in St. Louis and a JD from The Ohio State University. Please welcome Elizabeth Grieser to the stage.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you to the ISPTO for organizing this important community event. Welcome to this Meet the Candidates Forum for the Hilliard School Board. We hope this will provide you information for the upcoming November election. As Tara said, my name is Elizabeth Grieser. I'm the operations manager with the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus. Just so you know, the League is nonpartisan and we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. And before we kick this off officially, I'd be remiss in my duties with the League of Women Voters if I didn't remind everybody about upcoming dates and deadlines for voting this November. The last day to register to vote is October 10th. Early in-person voting starts October 11th at the Franklin County Board of Elections office on Morris Road. If you want to vote by mail, you will need to submit a written absentee ballot request form to the Board of Elections. Election day is Tuesday, November 7th, and polling locations will be open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can verify your election day polling place by contacting the Franklin County Board of Elections. Now, let's get started. We'll start with introductions from each of the candidates. They'll have 1 minute to give their introduction. And first is Kelly Arnold.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Kelly Arnold, and I apologize for my allergy-tinged voice tonight. But I've been using this voice for 20 years within the district, within our classrooms, helping out teachers, within our media centers, our extracurriculars, our color guard. I've been a part of our PTOs, serving on various committees, whether it's membership or fundraising, or as for a collective 17 years as a treasurer within PTO, including 6 years within the body of ISPTO. I've been on numerous district committees, including facilities, finance, portrait of a learner. And I've also been to over 200, somewhere in that neighborhood, of Board of Education meetings. I think this speaks to my broad and deep knowledge in our district, and I hope to use that knowledge to serve this community as a member of your Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Kate Lee Master, you're next.
Yes, Lee Master. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank the ISPTO for hosting this event. It's important that the community has these opportunities to get to know each and every one of us, so thank you guys again. Clearly, my name is Kate Lemaster, and I am running for Hilliard City School Board. I want to talk about the things that I am. I am a longtime resident of this community. In fact, my family's been here since the 1920s. I am a current volunteer in our schools and have been for the last 6 years. I am a former ISPTO member, and I am a former VP of volunteers at the Alton Darby Creek campus where I served on the PTO. And most importantly, I am a mom to 2 little boys who are currently in Hilliard City Schools today. I believe Hilliard is getting back on track when it comes to academics, but there are some areas that we still can improve upon, which is why I'm in front of you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Nadia Long.
Good evening, everyone. I am Nadia Long, and this journey started 8 years ago when my son was in 1st grade. Today, he is at Bradley High School. I spent 2 terms on the Board of Education, the first learning from many of our great leaders within the district, the second leading our district through a pandemic, which no one knew what that was all about. The reason I'm running for a 3rd term are the same goals: fiscal responsibility, district future, and academic success. We've been responsible with our taxpayers' money. The future of this district is my children. And then academic success, we are seeing great progression with the 4.5 report card, new curriculum rolled out, and #1 in measures of progress. I've spent 19 years at Mars Pet Care, and I'm the Quality and Food Safety Manager, making a better world for pets every day. My most important role is being a mom. I have a preschooler, a 6th grader, and a high schooler. That is my why for running. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you,
and thank
Nadia.
you for ISPTO.
Brian Perry.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you, ISPTO, for hosting us. My name is Brian Perry, and I'm running for re-election to the Hilliard Board of Education. Tonight, in my alma mater, I'd like to share my vision for our district. Throughout my term, I've stayed focused on what's important, and we've already seen tangible results. By refocusing on academics, student scores have improved throughout my term in office, and we can now proudly say that we are the highest-ranked school district in the state when it comes to Value-Added Growth Index. That means our students show more improvement over time than in any other district in Ohio. We've prioritized fiscal responsibility, resulting in $1.7 million in savings being put back into classrooms or kept in taxpayer pockets every single year. We've improved school safety with communication systems, cameras, door locks, and by adding trained counselors in every building every day to address our students' needs. These are the areas I'll continue to focus on once re-elected. Let's stay focused.
Thank you, Brian. First question. While an education degree is required to be a teacher and a financial degree would be required to be a treasurer, school board members often have a very diverse background. What qualifies you to be a school board member? First up, we have Nadia Long.
Thank you. So yes, our teachers have great education degrees, and that is super important. But when you look at the Board of Education, having a well-rounded school board is super important. My degree is in meat science. I don't know if there's any other meat scientist here, but that is what I studied, animal science and meat. That is all about problem solving. And that's what a Board of Education does, is fix problems. So when you think about taking some of the schooling that I've had in Ohio State University and applying it to the school board, you're seeing a very strategized approach to problems and really looking forward to the future. Thank you.
And I've just had a note handed to me from our audio engineers asking if candidates can remain seated for the recording purposes so that they can pick up the audio. Next, we have Kate Master.
All right, so what makes me to be a qualified school board candidate? First of all, I'm a mom. I think being a mom is very important to highlight and to have that parental voice on the school board, because we ultimately do know what's best for our children when it comes to who they are and what their needs are. Also, I have compounding unique experiences over my lifetime that has led me to this position today. In fact, when I graduated from Hilliard-Davidson High School in 2003, I actually wanted to be a teacher. I went to Bowling Green State University for 3.5 years where I did pursue my early childhood education degree. So I have college credit coursework that our teachers have taken. Alongside that, professionally, I worked at an educational publishing company called Zaner Blozer, which is under the Highlights for Children umbrella. With that role, I traveled nationwide and attended key literacy conferences where I met with superintendents, directors of curriculum, keynote speakers surrounding the topic of the science of reading. So that opportunity gave me a unique perspective nationwide, not just locally, nationwide topics. On top of that, I've been involved in our schools for 6 years, ever since the first day my kid walked into Darby Creek Elementary. I was a room mom, which then I ultimately became a PTO member. I dedicated almost over 100 hours of my time last year to our campus alone, where I worked and partnered with teachers and principals. So again, those unique experiences, I believe, have made me confident for school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Brian Perry.
Sure. So first, let me start off by thanking my dad, who was a teacher his whole life, and he raised me on a teacher's salary. I spent many sleepless nights grading papers and whatnot with him, and I learned so much from that. That really, education is the backbone of our society. That was instilled in me from birth. I graduated from here in 2011, and immediately I wanted to give back. I ran when I was 18 that year. I've been trying to serve this community for well over the better part of a decade. And furthering my own education to help me do that, I went and became an attorney. That's so crucial. An attorney knows how to communicate a point, how to understand and interpret complex data, how to make the best decisions possible. Something that I understand well is policy, how we look at the Ohio Revised Code, which is so crucial for all of our policies that come through OSBA, which are the majority of them. Being able to interpret that, understanding education. My sister now went into education as well. Understanding what it's like to be a teacher, having put up posters with her at midnight as well. I know what people go through. I know what's going on, and I listen to them. I listen to teachers. I understand that, and then I try to do the best I can with my experience to communicate that. And I think that my record's shown that over the past 4 years.
Thank you. And finally, Kelly Arnold.
So what qualifies me to be a school board member? My background, actually, educational background, is in public administration and public policy analysis. And I've used that skill set in furtherance for all of our PTOs over the years when I was helping out writing bylaws, reviewing bylaws with our organizations, parsing through IRS code, looking through the Secretary of State's websites and figuring out that kind of information for our groups. So I'm used to breaking down policy, understanding how it's formulated, and how we can make it better. I also have furthered that with my experience with the Far West Side Area Commission. I currently serve as the zoning chair, which, let me tell you, it's real fun breaking down zoning codes. But that's part of what this job entails, is you as a board member are looking at policy, helping set policy, help direct how that goes. And so it's important to be able to understand how the language works, how that ultimately affects the teachers, the students, our community, and making sure that people understand how these policies come about and then how they are implemented within our schools. So I believe this past experience helps create an atmosphere for me to be an effective member of our Hilliard City School Board.
Thank you, Kelly. Question number 2. Hilliard City Schools is on year 3 of a 3-year district commitment plan. If elected, what would be your top priorities and your plan of action to accomplish them? How does this align with the district priorities in the commitment plan? And first up, we have Kate Lee Master.
Yeah, so in reviewing the commitment plan, first of all, I need to give credit to Dave Stewart and his team by putting focus back on academics. Hilliard City Schools, in my point of view, we did slip over the last 7 to 8 years when it came to academics and where we were on the state report card. So we all know where we're at today, and that is direct representation from that team over there in the audience. So I do need to give a shout out to them as well as the frontline teachers, because you guys are the one day in and day out making this happen. So in regards to the commitment plan, right now Hilliard City Schools did roll out 2 new curriculums, which is going to have an impact on our literacy for our 3rd grade students, which is our lowest metric right now. We're at a 3, but that does mean that we are meeting expectations. But for me, that is an area of opportunity for growth, especially coming out of the pandemic. I saw firsthand my 1st grader, during the pandemic, he was really struggling learning how to read. I partnered with my teachers last year, and they got him up on the STAR reading score. And I get emotional about this because I went in it, and he was in the bottom 10% on the STAR reading test. So I'm committed to continuing this plan. I think we are headed in a good direction when it comes to our academics right now, and I am proud of all the hard work that our teachers have put in so far this academic year. Thank you.
Next, we have Kelly Arnold.
Sure.
They're trying to get the screen up here to work so the candidates can see the countdown for how much time they have left. Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So in looking at our commitment plan, I'm excited about where we're going in rolling that into our Portrait of a Learner. For those of you who are familiar, Portrait of a Learner was looking at the core competencies we want for our students. And as this has evolved, the district is moving forward with a strategic plan as well to incorporate those points of learning along within our commitment plan. And with looking at that strategic plan, the forefront of it is our students, student learning, student experiences, and student supports. So how that folds into our commitment plan, I'm excited to see as we move forward, partially because we're constantly evolving and reevaluating what the metrics are. One of the things that, as Kate mentioned, was STAR data, taking a look at how our kids are progressing, how they're looking at each point in time and when that test is given 3 times a year, and how that is happening within growth. But then also, now it's not just a static plan, it's also taking a look at what other things do we need to be concerned about. And attendance has shown up as one of those success factors that is indicative of how well a kid will perform and how well they will graduate. So putting it all together within the commitment plan, looking at Portrait of Learner, strategic plan, I think these are great ways that directions we are heading, and I'm excited where it's going.
Thank you. Nadia Long.
Yes, so the 3-year commitment plan has come with through the leadership of the current board, and that is a huge call out to the board. I also want to call out to the administration. So as Kate mentioned, we have made a major step change, and having that path for our district is super important. So as you ask, what will I do to support the commitment plan? It is responsible governance from the school board, and that is super important as we think about how we manage and move forward. So as a couple ideas that I have is making sure our agenda items line up with making sure that the commitment plan is discussed in public at our board meetings. So as a board member, you can help set the agenda items, and that is one actionable thing that I can do. We would also help prioritize. So if there are barriers for our administration, for our schools around the commitment plan, we as a board can help move those barriers. So those are the things that I would do to continue the great leadership that we have in moving our district forward through the commitment plan.
Thank you, Nadia. And finally, Brian Perry.
Thank you. I'll echo what I think my colleagues up here have said, that first of all, it's been a heavy lift from our teachers, our administrators, so first of all, thank you for that. But also, it's been a heavy lift from our community. We did do the Portrait of a Learner. We had many, many, many folks come into that from all walks of life, from all across the district, different viewpoints, and I think that we're better for it. One of the main things that actually came out of that, we did a survey. One of the number one things our community said that they were looking for and what a Hilliard learner looks like is to be empathetic. I think that's interesting, and I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. They can be an empathetic learner, but they can also learn math and reading and make sure that the scores go up. To that end, we've actually revised 3 areas of curriculum, math, language arts, and also health. And part of that comes directly from what we were listening to from parents. We had a strategic plan presentation at our communications committee, something we've recently adopted, so that we have a new lane of dialogue, not just monologue, but dialogue, where we can present to the community and they can come and speak with us directly. Let us know what they think. And we're all going to be better if we're in this thing together, making sure that we're focusing on areas where we can all agree, bringing people in, not excluding them out. And I think that's something that we've done, and I'll continue to support that going forward.
Thank you. Question number 3. Hilliard City Schools' last operating levy was on the ballot in 2016. Expenses continue to rise while income does not. What are your thoughts on the state of finances in Hilliard City Schools and a potential operating levy and bond issue on the ballot in 2024? What ideas do you have to cut or control spending to reduce the burden on taxpayers? And first up, we have Kelly Arnold.
So looking forward to next year, we most likely will be on the ballot with an operating levy and a bond levy. Given the fact that we haven't been there, we will start we already started deficit spending, and we will be at debt by fiscal year 2027. So looking ahead, it'll be important to see where the evaluation of all the properties shake out in terms of what our new millage rate is. Right now, we're at about $3.54 million per mill. So how that works out in terms of valuations, what kind of millage we'll be looking at, remains to be seen. Probably somewhere in the 4 to 5 mills, along with a bond levy, in order to finance a lot of projects that we need to keep up with on our maintenance. We have 26 buildings within our district, and a lot of them are showing their age in terms of things that need to be replaced, repaired. So as part of the master facilities planning, which I'm proud to be a member of, these are the things that we're looking at and how we prioritize, how we ensure that we're hitting the needs of our buildings, and how we're making sure that we also have the educational adequacy in the buildings. So I'm proud to keep going with that master facilities plan and make sure that we're constantly evaluating it so that we are spending our dollars wisely for the taxpayers.
Thank you. Brian Perry.
Yeah, so this is absolutely crucial, making sure that we're spending taxpayer dollars wisely. They expect it from us, and we deserve to give them exactly that. So some things that we've done to make sure that we have a 4-year levy that was stretched to what could be over 8 years. We've actually reduced our administrative budget. We already had the lowest in the county, but we've managed to, through consolidation and attrition, actually reduce that budget an additional $700,000 a year by reducing 7 positions, something I've been pushing for well over a decade. It's on my Ballotpedia page. But in addition to that, we also helped renegotiate excuse me, our teacher's contract a few years back. I was there for every single day of that contract, 12-hour-long days. I missed 2 hours for a medical appointment. And part of that contract, that passed 84%, by the way, actually gave an additional $1 million annually. So it's really focusing on what the nice-to-haves are and what the need-to-haves are. and making sure that we're doing those kind of things with efficiency. Part of that is the educational adequacy, making sure that we're putting the money where it needs to be spent for the best bang for our buck, and we've been doing that. We've been engaging in intentional development with folks, making sure that we're prioritizing commercial growth so that we're offsetting that residential taxpayer dollar, making sure that nobody's overburdened. We want people to be able to live here and go to school here, but we also want to make sure that our kids have a phenomenal education. We've been doing both pretty successfully.
Thank you. Kate Lemaster?
All right, so first of all, I appreciate everything that has gone into our finances over the last 4 to 8 years by not asking our taxpayers for a levy recently. However, when I met with Dave Stewart over the summer, we had this conversation, and he said, day one, if I get elected, we're talking about the levy and our finances and what that looks like for our district. And he meant that with sincere, from an analytic mindset. We really need to dive deep day one and get this together. So with that being said, I think we need school board members that are reasonable, not looking so much in the past, but looking towards the future. Right now, I did attend the Dublin ISP Meet the Candidate Night a few weeks ago, where our former superintendent, I will not say his name, talked about their operating levy that's currently on the ballot, which is an $8 million operating levy, if I'm correct. That is a huge ask for our taxpayers, and we need to make sure that when we go to ask you, the community, for the levy, that we have all the facts in front of us with the analysis in front of us as well. And right now, I'm not quite sure if that's happening, so we need to dig deep, get the facts, and tackle it day one to make sure that we don't have to come back in 2 years and ask for another levy. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia Long?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we probably will be on. We have gone since 2016 without an operating levy. So we intentionally knew we were going into deficit spending. We looked at our community through the pandemic and said it's not the right time for an ask. So we are in tune with the community. So as I have already shared, one of my goals is fiscal responsibility, and you've seen that in 8 years. So as the deficit spending came, we also challenged our administration to think of ways to help us keep from going too much into debt. So we've partnered with tolls. As we look at where our students are, we're utilizing partnerships such as tolls and our skilled trades to help educate those students and make sure they're ready for their tomorrow. So making those partnerships is super important. We've also streamlined work. So our administration, the number of administrators has dropped by 10. And I think that that's a huge lift for the administrative team, and there are people that work has been moved around. And I think that that is really responsible stewardship of money. And then also, as mentioned, the master facilities plan. So this is a huge stepping point for our district to make sure that we make the right decisions. And the final, as a Board of Education member, we need to advocate at the State House and make sure that they understand state funding and what it does at a local level. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. Hilliard City Schools has a diverse population with students that have different educational needs. How would you ensure each student feels safe, valued, and respected? How do you provide equitable educational opportunities for all students? And first we have Brian Perry.
Sure. So this is incredibly important. Students don't learn when they don't feel safe and welcome in their buildings. One thing that we've done, and I did as soon as I got on the board, and with the rest of the board, of course, is do a diversity task force. Let's learn about what the problems are. Let's bring our community in and ask the questions. And what can we do? And from that task force, what we got was 1, a committee, and 2, a full-time coordinator position that goes into the buildings, that talks with folks, that we have dedicated all the time to make sure that we're prioritizing this. We want to listen to every group of people that we can, and I've been going out into the community. I've been to the Muslim community. I've been to the Hispanic community. I've been across the board to different subgroups to understand what their needs are. It's about listening, providing opportunities for those folks to come and talk with us. I don't want to put my opinion on them. I want them to tell us, what do you need? And then try to work that out. Part of the result of that, we learned, for example, that we had an issue with some minority students weren't staying with the Hilliard EDU program. We have a diversity issue here at our staff level that it's not reflective of our community. And what we learned was if we help and support those folks, they may actually come back here. They may want to come back to Hilliard, the place that they graduated from that helped them out, and maybe they want to give back to their community. So those are the kind of things we need to be doing, constantly reaching out, constantly looking into this, and making sure that folks feel welcome, included across the board, no matter who they are.
Thank you. Nadia Long?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Our community is diverse, and that is what is beautiful about our community. So as Board of Education members, we need to be in those communities. And as Brian mentioned, that we are represented and invited to many things. So we need to take up those invitations and make sure that we are there for our community. So the other thing is around listening. So every student comes to us with a different need. And we need to listen to those needs and make sure that we are meeting those needs. Every student, without exception, is definitely what Hilliard City Schools is about. The last piece is to continue to support those agencies within our community. The celebration that just happened with Festa. That was an amazing partnership with the Franklin County Fairgrounds and Festa, all coming together and sharing and celebrating all of our differences together. So when I look at it, we need to model it as Board of Education members by being in the community and having a part of all of the diversity that we have.
Thank you. Kelly Arnold, you're next.
So taking a look at our diverse population, there was a wonderful graphic I saw that it was talking about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is a fact, equity is choice, and inclusion is action. And as you stated, we are a diverse community, that's the fact. So equity and inclusion, their choices, their actions. And we have seen that recently within our district as we've recognized our diversity in choosing more resources that reflect our students, reflects the different nature of each of our students. In fact, our teachers look at it as mirrors, doors, and windows so that students can see themselves, step through and have empathy, and look and view what others are living. So we need to keep going on that path of making sure our resources align with what our students need. As a board, that's the job, is making sure our students, our teachers, our community has the resources to do the job of public education, which is meeting the need of everyone in our community without exception.
And finally, Kate Leemaster.
All right, so this question I could actually spend like 4 to 5 hours talking about because it is, it's very serious in regards to our schools today. So every student without exception should be ready for tomorrow, but my view on this is that it should also include every parent, every teacher, and every staff without exception when we're having these conversations. We need to identify that not only our students are diverse, but also our families and our staff and the community in which we live in. I remember attending Hilliard City Schools, and we weren't really that a diverse community, to be completely honest, compared to where we're at today. And we need to make sure that we do have voices on the board that understand this and are having conversations with our teachers and our staff and listening to them as they navigate through their challenges in regards to their views and what they think is best for education. Education is not a one-size-fits-all situation, and we've identified that with our students. We've provided accommodations outside of the traditional classroom, and we need to also acknowledge that within our staff, because we can't have every child without exception be ready for tomorrow unless the parent and the family and the community are included as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5. Similar to many school boards and communities across the country, the board and community has often been divided in the past couple of years, supporting opposite sides of issues and split votes. How would you use your role on the board to model productive and inclusive dialogue at board meetings and in the community? How would you help bridge community divisions? Nadia Long, first.
Yeah, so being a member of the Board of Education for 8 years, I've gotten to experience a couple different boards, and it is real about division currently throughout our nation. And I think one thing that is really important is, as a Board of Education member, you are there to put policy in place, you hire the superintendent, and you hire the treasurer. So it's really important to keep the focus on what your role within the district is. I think that you guys have seen over my 8 years, there has been a few different times that I do need to do my homework. And I think that's really important. talking to people in other school districts, so it's not just what you're hearing in your community, but across the state is super important. So I think that modeling it is really modeling it for our students. They should see us behave as adults, and definitely professionalism is a huge piece of that. I wouldn't act any different at Mars Pet Care than I would on the Board of Education, and I think that that's really what's important, is that we model responsible professional behavior.
Thank you. Brian Perry?
Yeah, we do have a lot of divisions, and that's, I think, a reflection of the times that we live in. And I think modeling that is incredibly important, modeling how to handle divisions, not to model the division, of course. I'm an attorney. I argue every day for a living, but when I do so, it has to be based in fact. It has to be based in respect. Though passions may strain, let they not, break the bonds of affection that we hold. I didn't come up with that. But I think that that's what we need to be able to do, is model a robust, passionate discussion on occasions, yes, but that at the end of the day, we can walk back and shake hands and say, well, we may disagree passionately, but we still have that level of respect for each other. I think that that's something that we need to maintain across our district, is that level of respect. I've had times when, unfortunately, I think the respect has been lacking, not necessarily on the board, but from the community and within the community. We've got to get back to treating people as human beings with differences of opinion, sure, but human beings. And sometimes, unfortunately, that means that we have to stand up for folks. There comes a time when if I see a group of people being attacked by someone else, I'm going to stand up, and I'm probably not going to get along with that person. But our students see that. Our students see that. They see, are you going to stand up for me? Our staff sees, are you going to stand up for me? And my answer is always yes.
Thank you. Next, Kate Leemaster.
Yeah, so I've attended many board meetings over the last 3 to 4 years, the most that I could, while raising 2 little boys and all the things going on. Our board is divided. I don't know how many of you in the audience have been to a board meeting recently, but it is very divided and it's very polarizing. And it's sad. Frankly, it's sad. We are elected officials that represent a body, and we should act with professionalism across the board at the end of the day. We should not be shouting at each other. We should not be undermining someone's authority, and that is currently what is happening on our board. If I were elected, I would maintain that level of respect. I've worked in the corporate world for almost 15, 17 years now, and I've had some very hard conversations when I've been in a leadership role as manager over my employees. We need to be able to have hard conversations, tie it to an action item on how we can move forward and be better, and then hold each other accountable at the end of the day, but also be respectful of everybody's difference of opinions. And that I truly feel is what's missing within our board, and that's what I hope to provide as a future school board member.
Thank you. Kelly Arnold.
So this is a space I've been inhabiting for the past 4.5 years as an area commissioner, because people get a little excited about zoning and rezonings and variances. And one of the things I've found is most effective is just acknowledging the passion that people have for their property, for their roads, believe me, for the roads, and listening to what their concerns are, but also helping inform them exactly what are the zoning laws, what is the actual product that's coming out. There's a whole host of things that go into these types of issues. And so when you're sitting there within a meeting and pitchforks and torches show up, the most important thing is to act with empathy. These are people that just want to do the right thing for themselves, for their community, and you're there also to help do the right thing for in this case, the school community. So the most important aspect of this is acknowledging their concerns, listening to them, giving them the information they need, and then ultimately finding a pathway that hopefully we can find some compromises, negotiations, but in the end, making decisions that benefit for the best benefit that we can come for the community together.
Thank you. Now, question 6, we have our first audience question. As a school board member, from whom will you seek advice or input in weighing key decisions? And up first, Kate Leemaster.
So for me, there's no better person to ask for advice when it comes to educating our children than the teachers. I have told you time and time again on the stage tonight that I have spoken with many teachers in our district, as well as many teachers throughout the state, because like I said, I did go to school for early childhood education, so I have those connections as well. So when it comes time to receive input, I will lean on them because they are the expert, and I will also reach out to the superintendent and the administration staff. I mean, we've hired them because they are the professionals at the end of the day. The board is just simply to set policy and governance, essentially. So I am not the expert. I will never say I am the expert in the room when it comes to education. So I will lean on the frontline workers and the administration that we have put in place today. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia Long?
Yeah, so for 8 years, I've made lots of friendships through being on the Board of Education. And I think that the most important advice when we face a decision as a member of the Board of Education is to look at our administrators, our teachers, our staff, our bus drivers, our custodians. What does this mean for our district? Another place to get advice is the families. These families are bringing their children to us, and it's super important that they have a voice and that they can give input to the Board of Education members. Colleagues, being on the Board of Education is an experience, and until you're on the board, you don't totally understand it. So leaning on colleagues, and that's colleagues within the district and across the state, being a part of OSBA is a huge part of our district and a good sounding board for us as we look at the state of Ohio. And then finally, make sure you surround yourself with people that have been there before. My father was on school board for 20 years, so it's one phone call away to really understand and get that advice of what leadership of Board of Education looks like.
Thank you. Kelly Arnold?
So looking ahead at who do you rely on? Who do you talk to? I'd say I'd stick with the people that I've been talking to all these years in discussing these issues. People like the superintendent, like the treasurer, like the administration, and of course our teachers. As a PTO officer, one of the first places I'd start with was the teachers because they know what's going on in the classrooms. And as a PTO leader, the parents. We need to incorporate all these voices together so that we are making good decisions in service to the community. But also in terms of seeking advice, I also reach out to my old friend Paul Lambert. Where are you, Paul? There you are. And prior board members as well, because they've been there. They know how these realms work, and have advice on where the board has been, because you can't always move forward unless you understand where we've come from in order to not make the same mistakes, in order to understand the decisions that were made in the past. In order to move forward, you have to understand where you've been. So I always want to make sure that we're reaching out to all the different areas of our community, our leadership, and relying on the people that the board hires, the superintendent and the treasurer.
Thank you. And finally, Brian Perry.
Sure. So I get the benefit of going last, so I get to listen to the three people who went before me. But I do think that most of them have the right idea. It's listening to everybody. I believe that there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And what that means is kind of taking each stakeholder as they come and understanding what they bring to the table, why they're interested, why they're invested in that particular topic, and seeing who are the professionals, who are the experts. Well, raising their kids, that's the parents. Educating the kids, well, that's probably the teachers. You know, getting the kids to school, probably our bus drivers. Running the district, administrators, board, colleagues, and former board members. And yes, I hate to admit it, but I've relied on Paul too a decent amount of times. And I was fortunate enough. When I came on the board, I had folks who've been there for a very, very long time, and I tried to suck up as much knowledge as I possibly could during that time period, relying on their many years of experience. And now hopefully I'm able to be one of those people folks rely on, that, you know, I can give back to folks when they ask me a question, that I'm now able to, you know, to explain, you know, our perspective and help new folks as well. But really it's making sure that you're listening to everybody. And the key word there is listening to folks. When teachers come and tell me something, I listen. When administrators come and tell me something, I listen. When parents come and tell me something, I listen to all of them, and they don't always have the same perspective. So taking everything into consideration, weighing everything as much as it deserves to be weighed, and then making a decision based on that.
Thank you. Question 7. Each of you participated in some degree in the process to create the Portrait of a Learner last spring. Which of the 5 key competencies resonated with you most? What role do you, as a board member, have in supporting this and in the formation of the district's strategic plan? And first up is Kelly Arnold.
So looking at Portrait of a Learner, within the 5 competencies, I'd have to say critical thinking is one of the skill sets that is vital for our students. We're in an information age, and it's so critical that we have critical thinkers, because the information we're receiving, it comes from so many different sources, and you have to be able to understand how to parse that information, ensure that it's valid, ensure that it's factual. And we need our students to understand that skill set. So how do we promote that? And that's by having an open space where kids can question. Kids can actually challenge the information that's there, reformulate, rethink, and bring their own ideas to the plate in order that they synthesize it together and produce problem solving that is actually rooted in facts, rooted in good policy structure and understanding of what the actual problem is, versus just accepting what information they see or hear or receive, especially in the realm of artificial intelligence right now. The space is just so changing, and that's why it's critical that we have kids that can take that information and work through it.
Thank you, Kelly. Caitley Master.
Yeah, so I was very thankful that I took the opportunity to be on the committee for the Portrait of a Learner last winter and spring. It really, for those in the room that were not a part of it, and those who are in the room that were, I hope you can speak to this, but it really, it brought our community together. I believe I called one of my good friends after the first night, and I was just so excited with the amount of dialogue that we were having as a community from all differences. Like we've said, Hilliard is a diverse community, and that event was impactful to me, and something that I will carry on as a potential board member in the future. So to your question, I too am going to tag on with the critical thinking, because ultimately we are educating our children to be critical thinkers. It's a big part of academics and raising our students to be successful adults in the real world. With that being said, I think we need to provide areas where our kids can diverse with intellect. Right now, we need to be able to show all sides of interest regarding religion, race, hobbies, everything. And by providing a classroom where we can have students speak to their life events or their perceptions and also challenge each other, that is really what I would love to strive for, not only for our students, but for the world right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Perry.
Sure. So I think that, being part of that, I mentioned that the number one thing that came out of that was empathetic citizens was what the community wanted, and we put that directly into our Portrait of a Learner subpoints. The big thing that stuck out to me, besides being an empathetic citizen, which, of course, we want people to understand each other, was being a self-advocate. And that's so crucial to me because we hear so much and we talk so much about students. But I like talking to students, and I want students to be able to speak for themselves. If we're going to make them ready for tomorrow, they're going to have to go out into that world, and they're going to have to say, no, I ordered the hamburger, you gave me a pizza, and I would like another one. And I think being able to advocate on their own behalf and their own interests, to say, I need help in math. Can I get a tutor? Can I get some additional help? Here's what I need, and them telling you. Now, we can do a lot, and especially at the younger grades, we do a lot, seeking out, what students need, but especially as they get in those upper levels, being ready for tomorrow, being someone who can advocate for themselves, I think is incredibly important. I think that that's going to carry them throughout life, which is ultimately what our goal is here as a school district, is to provide them with the skills that prepare them for the rest of their lives.
Thank you, Brian. Finally, Nadia Long.
Yeah, so first off, I want to thank all of you for giving your time to the Portrait of the Learner. That was a huge lift in our community at a time that many were scared to bring that many people together. And I remember the conversations with Superintendent Stewart of, is this the right time? Can we do this? And I was the little cheerleader in the background saying, we can do it, checking in on him after each night, just to make sure our administration felt supported. And we could have that strong dialogue within our community. So I don't know, when you think of what my role has been, being a sitting Board of Education member, I made sure I wasn't putting my input into what the community shared. We wanted to hear from the community. So you purposely saw the Board of Education sitting on the sidelines. I did talk to Colin, who facilitated the whole process, quite a bit about what it meant for our district and how important that is. So when I look at it, I want to just thank you all for us having this guide moving us forward of what our learners will be. So I am with the other two over here on the critical thinking. So when I think about our students, we want them to learn information, we want them to process it, and we want them to do something with that information. As a hiring manager at Mars Pet Care, I want critical thinkers coming to our team. And I think that's super important characteristic of Ready for Tomorrow for our students.
Thank you. Question number 8, we have another audience question. What do you think is the #1 area of improvement for Hilliard City Schools, and how would you make those changes? Brian Perry?
Well, the #1 area of improvement for us, excuse me, has to be academic success. I think that that's something that we have been actively improving on. You've noticed it. In fact, I believe, according to the value-added scores, that we're one of the only school districts in the county that is moving in the right direction. It doesn't mean we're there yet. It means that we're on the way. And I think that's something that we need to absolutely be focused on. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do here. We're a school district. Yes, we talk about the broader picture of everything. But being a school district, they have to have academic achievement, and we are achieving that, but we need to keep progressing in that direction in the way that we have been. That's always our main focus. That's always something that we need to advocate for, and it, to me, has always been the #1 thing that we need to be striving to do.
Thank you. Kelly Arnold?
I would have to agree. Looking at academic improvement is always one of the #1 priorities for school districts. What I'd like to focus on is looking at that STAR data. One of the things that struck me when Molly Walker was giving some information back in the spring was talking about the gains and the growth that each cohort was making. And we could see within our younger students that they were making those growth gains. But our older students struggled a bit as they were going along. So I think one of the focus areas, and obviously I'm sure the team is already working on this, but we need to keep encouraging it. We need to provide the resources and the supports to do that, is how do we reach those middle schoolers, those high schoolers, so that they are making just as many gains as our younger set. And I think that would, again, what the data has shown us with STAR is if we get them into a certain percentage, that they will be successful on the state report cards. But I think this STAR data, how we look at it, how we use it, and then how we can support making sure those gains happen for our middle schoolers and high schoolers is just as important, and hopefully continue that.
Nadia Long?
Yeah, so I think in the improvement that I would like to see in the district is workforce development. So as I think about where we are in Hilliard City Schools, we are really the leaders of workforce development, and I am so proud to be in a district that does that. How I would improve the partnerships that we have with Tolles, 150 more students out there. That is amazing. That is getting our students to their Ready for Tomorrow. Also, the trades. We are partnering in like no other district, getting our students with those that are in the trades. We also are partnering with higher education. Having a high schooler, I learn every week about all the opportunities to prepare my freshmen for college. So it's really seeing that partnership too. Improvements with getting our middle schools into these workforce development, letting them start to think about it, let them experience different jobs out there and figure out what their Ready for Tomorrow is going to be. Also partnering to make sure that we are providing those best opportunities that families have. So if a family wants to provide a certain development opportunity for their student, we want to make sure we partner and give that space to those families. So really, Hilliard has done a wonderful job, and I would like to see it continue moving forward.
And finally, Kate Lemaster.
So I think we're doing right things right now when it comes to academics. However, one area that I see that we have in front of us for improvement is the rollout of these academic initiatives pertaining to our teacher support and our student support. Last spring, when I heard that we were going to be rolling out 2 new curriculums district-wide, I immediately threw up the red flags given my experience working with Zaner Blozer alongside professional development staff with districts like New York City, Baltimore, and Houston. I know that that is a huge ask for our teachers, is to implement curriculums district-wide. I know that teachers have been involved in a lot of planning over the summer. They've had the opportunity to speak up, get involved, and learn this new curriculum. But my concern is why did we rush it so much? We piloted iPads for 6 months before we implemented it, but we did not do that with our curriculum for our teachers and staff. They are literally teaching the first week of our school, driving the bus while putting the parts together, from my understanding when I'm talking to them. So for me, and I don't mean to sound frank, guys, I just really want to highlight the areas of concern that has been presented to me from our teachers, and I want to be a voice for them. So we need to partner with our teachers, ask them questions, see how things are going, see if they need additional professional development, and maybe reevaluate our curriculums that we rolled out. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 9 will also be an audience question. Why should anyone looking for school districts across Central Ohio strongly consider the Hilliard City School District? Nadia Long, you're first.
Yeah, so our reputation of Hilliard City Schools is great throughout our district. As I had 3 new employees move to the district, luckily they've all moved around Hilliard City Schools. And when I think about why, it's all of the work that has been done. Our past board members have set us up for a great future. I still sometimes think, and I was like, how is the ILC within our school district? That is amazing, thinking of getting our students and giving them that opportunities out of the classrooms and really being able to utilize those buildings. So why would people want to come to Hilliard City Schools? As a resident, I have 3 kids in the district, so I'm a mom. I can tell you exactly, looking at preschool, 6th grade, and high school, it's really important to see how the needs of the students are met at the different levels. The extension of the preschool was a big lift for our community, and it shows our commitment to our youngest students in our district. So as I think about it, Central Ohio is the place to be, guys, and industry is coming, and we continue to want them to come to Hilliard City Schools and make sure that we prepare those students ready for tomorrow.
Thank you. Brian Perry.
Excuse me. I'm gonna tickle in my throat. Yes, Hilliard's reputation precedes it. We're actually the #1 reason for folks who want to move to our district. Those are folks who have graduated college, who want to start families here, put down roots, and they understand because of our wonderful amount of course offerings, the services that we provide, second to none, truly astonishing. In fact, according to the Value Index ranking, we're only 6 spots different from Olentangy and only 11 spots different from Dublin, and maybe one of those days Dublin and Olentangy will catch up to us. So we are succeeding in ways that are truly astonishing, and we keep growing every year. If you want your students to succeed and you want them to increase from what they know now to what they should know for the future, Hilliard is the #1 place in the state of Ohio to make that happen. And we've done that by being intentional, by putting in the work, yes, by growing our curriculum options, refocusing on academics, refocusing on these things that are so incredibly important to folks, while also providing them with a welcoming, safe environment for them to learn. It's more than academics. Yes, that's our focus. Of course it is. But it's also who you are as a person, and we welcome these students in with open arms, regardless of who you are, provide course offerings not found to quite a lot of other places, while also doing it for not a ton of taxpayer dollars. So that's why I would say to come here.
Thank you. Kelly Arnold.
So why Hilliard? I will echo these sentiments. The opportunities, the extracurriculars, the strong academics, we see the rating, the 4.5 stars. We see the opportunities for students, whether it's Academy EDU, mentorship programs, Worthington Industries. We can see the extracurriculars such as the band and orchestra and choir and all of our sports. And these all together help produce a well-rounded child that can go out into that workforce, that has the skill sets, that not just, academics are a great foundation, but there's so much more beyond that they need to learn in order to be out there and compete for the jobs of today and tomorrow. And I saw that with my own students, or my own kids, in what they received from their teachers, the support that they received, not just within the classroom, but encouraging them to try new things, try things outside their comfort zone. And that kind of support you just can't buy. It's something that's special here in Hilliard that I think that our teachers have supported and provide for all of our students.
And finally, Kate Lemaster.
All right, so this one literally hits home, and I mean that. My family, we've been here forever. In fact, my kids will be the 4th generation to graduate from Hilliard City Schools. I think we added up, my mom and I the other day, we have almost 50 family members who have gone through Hilliard City Schools over the generations. So the fact that I'm here today and I am raising my kids in Hilliard City Schools, it should show you guys how much I love the school district. I've seen it evolve over the years. My family, we've seen it evolve over the years, all for the better. Hilliard City Schools, I can't wait for my children to graduate Hilliard Blue. And I've told this to many community members as I'm out campaigning right now. I want my kids to graduate with Hilliard Blue. Hilliard Blue and Hilliard City Schools, we offer so many courses that children can navigate for whatever their area of interest is. You go to a Jonathan Alder School District, they don't have that. They just don't. And that is the reason why I continue to raise my kids and continue to the roots that are being put in the ground with my family, is because I am passionate about this district, and this district is amazing, not only from an academic state card perspective, but also from a sense of community that we bring. When we go to football games, it is a prideful moment, and that is what I want, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And question 10, last question. According to a recent survey by Edweek Research Center and Merrimack College, 1 in 3 teachers say they're likely to quit in the next 2 years. How do you plan to retain top teachers in our district to make them feel supported and allow them to do what they do best? And first up again, it's Kate Lemaster.
All right, so I'm glad that this is being asked because I believe that I was the one that highlighted this earlier this evening. Teachers' mental health right now, I believe, is a crisis, honestly. We keep putting more and more on their plate and not taking anything off. When I'm talking to teachers, those are the exact words that they are telling me. I have seen it. I am in the schools on a regular basis, and I have teachers that just look at me with this blank stare in their eyes. They're just done. They're telling me that they're having to go on medication for anxiety and depression. They just can't handle it. So it is a real concern, guys. If we lose our workforce, we're only going to hurt our students in this district. We need to have conversations with them. We need to give them the opportunity to speak up and speak out about their issues in a safe place. Right now, I don't know what that looks like with board members having direct conversations with our teachers, but that's something that I would like to look into and advocate for on the behalf of our teachers. Because if they're not able to communicate the needs to us, then how can we make it better for them so that they will stay at the end of the day?
Thank you. Kelly Arnold?
Looking back at, we had a previous plan called the Next 10, and one of the things in that was talking about developing a quality workforce and teacher goals. And I see that's being reflected in our next strategic plan, looking at developing and retaining our teachers. But I think the one thing that we sometimes forget is actually talking to the teachers and finding out what makes that a most safe, welcoming environment for them, and finding out why are the teachers leaving. What kind of exit interviews are we doing? What kind of surveys are we taking with our teachers to truly understand where they are in their career, where they are in their classroom, and how they're feeling about our district. And so my encouragement and what I look forward to within the strategic plan is how that piece develops as to not just trying to attract teachers in, but how do we develop them and how do we retain them by asking them, what are the things that make you successful? What makes this a successful district for you? And then ultimately finding the resources and the capabilities to do that.
Thank you. Brian Perry.
I think we need to offer them support. We absolutely need to do that, and we do that by listening and saying, well, what do you need? That's difficult. Sometimes what they need are things we can't provide. I wish I could do a 1-to-1 student ratio across the board and pay them $1 million. I wish we could do that, but we do as best as we possibly can. We do that by trying to negotiate the fairest contracts possible, listening to what they say and then implementing those things if it is possible to do so. They asked for class caps a long time ago, and everyone said that we can't do that. Well, during our last contract, the negotiated contracts, we actually started to work that in so that if a student does need to go into a class that's larger because of redistricting reasons and whatnot, that teacher's putting in extra work, and they're getting compensated for that extra work. It also encourages us to try to make sure the numbers match so that everyone understands that smaller class sizes are better for everyone across the board. This advocacy extends not just to them privately and in the workplace, but also publicly. Teachers are under assault right now. Public education is under assault right now, all across the district and all across, truly, the state and nation. Being able to go out there and say, no, we support public education, we support our teachers, and by doing that, by the way, Hilliard is not seeing this mass exodus as the way that some other districts are, because we do have fairly well compensated teachers, because we value that as a community. Those are things we need to do all the way up the chain, making sure we're listening to them, implementing what we can, and truly showing that we value them, not just saying it, but showing that we value them.
Thank you. Finally, Nadia Long.
Yeah, so understanding the statistic of 1 in 3 teachers. So first off, I just want to thank our teachers. They have been through a lot. And just thinking of my time in the Board of Education in 8 years, things have changed, and we understand that. Do we know the next steps? We're sure looking for them. So when I think about what I can do to support these teachers is, first, they need to know that they're very much appreciated, and that's really how we behave as a Board of Education. So as a line manager at Mars, there's a lot around the workforce and how we move forward. So taking some of the learnings that I have in industry and bringing that into the district is really going to be helpful as a member of the Board of Education. But I do have 3 specific things that I think are really important. The professional development. Mars does Hilliard U like nothing else, or Hilliard U is like nothing else across the other districts. And I think that keeping that focus on professional development, listening to our teachers and asking what will help them, letting them present of things that have helped them in the classroom to others across the district is super important. Also, as a Board of Education, we create the leadership of the district. It is important that we put people that put teachers first, and those people remove any obstacles for our teachers. And finally, we need to streamline the work so there isn't a lot of busy work for our teachers, that they can just spend time with those students to follow the calling of teaching.
Thank you. And now we are up to closing remarks. Candidates will have 1 minute each to make closing remarks. Brian Perry.
Thank you again to our hosts and to everyone in attendance. Tonight you've heard various different visions for the future of our district. I've stayed focused on what's important, creating a culture of community and academic success, fiscal responsibility, and strong school safety. I've supported my position with facts, and I have a proven record of success on the board. This is why I'm honored to be supported by parents, teachers, staff, and community members of all kinds throughout our district. They know I'll avoid the distractions, promote public education, and help our students succeed. Our entire community depends on strong schools. Let's keep Hilliard City Schools strong by focusing on what matters, together. Please go to perryforschoolboard.com and remember to vote for Brian Perry on November 7th. I am Brian Perry, I am staying focused, and together we're just getting started. Thank you.
Nadia Long.
Thank you all for your time tonight. I am a mom across the district, which will help me guide my future decisions on the Board of Education. My goals are clear: fiscal responsibility, district future, and academic success. I am the experienced Board of Education member here. I have served and led the Board of Education as president. I've served on facilities and policy as chair for a few years, and also I have been on many committees and task force across the district. I am invested. The future of my family is the future of Hilliard City Schools. Being a mom in the district with children across the district in preschool, 6th grade, and high school. I am also a homeowner in our district and understand what the district success means to our home values. So I hope you continue to put faith in Long. On November 7th, remember to vote for Nadia Long.
Thank you. Kate Lemaster?
Yeah, so I too just want to echo everybody and thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know there's so many more entertaining things to do than sit here and listen to us. So thank you guys for your participation. This is what we need. We need to continue to encourage community involvement when it comes to our schools. So why vote for me? You know, like Nadia said, I'm a mom. The decisions that I would make as a future school board member would have a direct impact on my two boys in regards to their career here at Hilliard City Schools. I think that's important to highlight. I'm not going to make any decision lightly, and I'm going to look at everything, you know, analytically with multiple lenses and converse with people who do have ultimately more knowledge surrounding education. So if you're looking for a school board member that is approachable, honest, and is willing to meet and have a conversation with you at the table, no matter what your differences are, I'm your school board candidate for that. So remember, Kate Lemaster, educate this November 7th. Thanks, guys.
And finally, Kelly Arnold.
I just want to thank the ISPTO. Always appreciate these folks putting these on. I want to thank our moderator, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to the audience here tonight. It's always exciting when people come out to want to hear about schools. I hope over the evening you've heard my passion and dedication to our schools throughout the years. And I can leave you with this. You will not find anyone more dedicated to doing the homework, to listening, to researching, to understanding about what our schools are about, and for making sound decisions. So I hope you will take a moment to take a look at my website, Kelly Arnold for HilliardSchools.com, to learn more, because again, it's a short little window tonight to find out these things. And vote on November 7th, Kelly Arnold, and early voting starts October 11th. Thank you, guys.
So thank you, Brian, Nadia, Kate, and Kelly for a very informative evening. If you can't get enough of these candidate forums, we have another one scheduled on October 11th, 6:30 p.m. at the Hilliard Library. We'll feature these lovely candidates here, as well as Hilliard City Council and Norwich Township races that will be hosted by the League of Women Voters. But I really want to thank the ISPTO for organizing this event tonight, and I will turn it back over to Tara.
Kelly stole my thunder. Thank you for attending tonight's Meet the Candidate event. I want to recognize and pass along our thanks before we leave the event tonight to the following folks. Thank you to our candidates for participating and sharing with our community. Thank you to Elizabeth Grieser for joining us tonight and for doing a great job moderating the event. And thank you to Trevor Torrance, Mark Tremaine, the Academy Vibe students, Christopher, Olivia, and Landon, Adam Olszewski, and Darby High School's custodial staff, Mark Dudgeon, Jeremy Taylor, and our district operations team, Eric Farnbach and Ellie Iannucci from Allied Sources, and Rich Bettner for their assistance with the setup and logistics to make the evening a success. Thank you to my fellow board members and volunteers from Hilliard ISPTO for your help organizing and running the event. And thank you to the audience for your participation. We received a ton of questions that we were sorting through up here. And so didn't want to change the script on the team here. We said 10 questions, so we're going to stick with that. But what that means is outside of the auditorium, the candidates will be at their tables to have chances to talk with all of you. So please feel free to grill them with the tough questions and find out where they stand. And we appreciate your engagement with Hilliard City Schools and we encourage you to vote. And thank you and good night.